1928, the U.S. Congress passed a bill that authorized new tariffs on some imported manufactured goods. This meant that taxes would have to be paid to the federal government when certain manufactured goods were imported. And since many goods were not manufactured in the United States at the time, if people wanted to have these goods, then the goods had to be imported. The issue of nullification arose in this situation when one of the southern states in the United States held a convention to discuss the tariffs on some imported products. The convention voted to nullify the law that required that tariffs be paid on those imported goods. In other words, the state voted not to follow a law passed by the federal government. The President of the United States, Andrew Jackson, sent federal troops into the state to impose the federal law on tariffs there. A compromise was reached when the government passed a new law that lowered the tariff, and the southern state agreed to pay this lower tariff.
Hey, Steve, can I ask you something?
Sure, Chris. What do you want to know?
It's about the paper in our psychology class.
The one for next week?
No, the first one we did. The one we got back in class today.
Oh, that one. What do you want to know about it?
You seem to have done a good job on it. I mean, the professor certainly complimented you on it when she returned it to you.
Oh, you heard what the professor said? That was kind of embarrassing.
You shouldn't be embarrassed. The professor said you did a nice job on the paper. Listen, I was wondering if you could help me a little. I mean, give me an idea about what you did that the professor liked.
I'm sure the professor liked your paper, too.
No, she didn't like it. The only comment she wrote on my paper was needs work. I don't think she liked it very much.
Well, I didn't do anything special. I mean, I just read the question she asked and wrote a very simple and direct answer to the question.
You don't think she wanted something creative? I worked really hard to come up with a creative answer. I sort of told a story that indirectly implied my answer to the question.
You did? Really? Well, it sounds like the professor didn't appreciate the effort you put into your paper to make such a creative response.
So you just wrote a simple answer?
A really simple, direct answer.
And the professor certainly seemed to like that.
I guess so.
Then I'll have to try that on the next paper. And here I was working so hard to try to think of a creative way to write the next paper.
I guess you don't need to do that.
Not if I want to write a paper the professor likes, and I do. Yes, how can I help you?
I'm not sure if I'm in the right place. I'm looking for an application for the academic scholarship program. Is that something I can pick up here?
Yes, you're in the right place. Applications for the academic scholarship program are right here. Let me get one for you. Here you are.
Thanks very much. By the way, is there anything I need to know to complete the application, or is the application self-explanatory?
It's fairly self-explanatory, but let me go over a few things with you, just to be sure. Okay, the first really important thing is the date. The application is due by March 1st, by the end of the business day on March 1st.
That's really soon.
It is, and the date is absolute. No applications will be accepted after the 1st.
I'll have to hurry to get it done.
You will.
Anything else?
Yes. Make sure you fill the application out completely. Every single question must be answered. If you omit any questions, your application won't be considered.
But some of these questions don't seem to pertain to me.
Well, like what, for example?
Well, look, question number 20 asks about my high school ranking.
Why doesn't that pertain to you?
Well, the high school I attended didn't give rankings. I didn't go to high school here in the United States, and my high school didn't give out rankings.
Well, for that question, just give the explanation you gave me. Just be sure not to omit any questions. If you think a question doesn't pertain to you, then write an explanation why.
Okay, I can do that. Anything else you can tell me?
Well, there are the essays. You know you have to write 2 essays to accompany the application?
Oh my, that's a lot of work. I assume the essay questions are included somewhere in the application?
Yes, on page 7 of the application. You see them? At the bottom of the page?
Yes, I see them. There are 4 questions there. I thought you said I needed to write 2 essays. Oh, I see. It says to choose 2 of the 4 essay questions to answer. Now, is that all I need to do? That must be all.
Well, not quite.
Oh no. What else?
There are the letters of reference.
Letters of reference? Are these letters that I write?
Oh, no. You don't write the letters of reference yourself. You need to get 3 people to write letters of reference for you.
Do the letters of reference need to be written by professors, or can they be written by other people?
2 of the 3 letters need to be written by professors. You're applying for an academic scholarship, after all.
So I need 2 letters of reference from professors and 1 from someone else?
Yes.
Can the 3rd letter of reference be written by a friend? By a student?
No, the 3rd letter can't be written by a student.
How about by my advisor? Would that be okay?
That would be great.
And do I need all of this by March 1st, even the letters of reference?
All of it, if you want to be considered for the academic scholarship program.
Okay, in this course, we've discussed a number of the ocean's unusual features. Today, we're going to discuss atolls and how they're formed. First, can you tell me what an atoll is? Beth.
An atoll's a ring-shaped mass of coral and algae.
That's right. An atoll's made of coral and algae, and it's in the shape of a ring. And where are atolls found? Jim?
Atolls are found in tropical and subtropical areas of the ocean.
It's true that atolls are found in tropical and subtropical areas. Why is that, do you think?
It's where the water temperature is fairly warm. The coral and reef-building algae grow best in fairly warm water.
Okay, now let's look at how atolls are formed. We'll look at a series of 3 diagrams and discuss what's happening in each. This diagram shows the first step in the process. What does the diagram show? Linda?
Well, it, looks like a volcano.
It certainly does, but perhaps there's something more you could add?
It's a volcanic island. A newer volcanic island that has formed recently.
And what's growing around the volcanic island?
A coral reef's growing around this new volcanic island.
Yes, good. Okay, now let's look at the second diagram. Beth, can you describe what's happening in this diagram?
The second diagram shows that the volcanic island has started to erode. It's wearing down.
And what's been happening with the coral reef while the volcanic island has been eroding?
The coral reef has continued to grow.
Excellent. Now let's look at the third diagram in the series. What's happening in this diagram, Jim?
Well, in this diagram, you can see that the volcanic island has worn down so far that it's below the level of the ocean. The coral has built up even further, so the coral's above the water, and the remains of the volcano are underwater.
Yes, and it's at this stage when the ring of corals called an atoll. The volcano has sunk, and there's a pool of water inside the atoll. Now, what do we call the pool of water that remains inside an atoll? Linda?
The pool of water inside the atoll is called a lagoon.
That's correct. The body of water inside an atoll is called a lagoon. Well, you seem to understand quite clearly how atolls result when coral reefs around volcanic islands continue to grow as the volcanic islands themselves diminish. Well, that's all for today. I'll see you next class.